Welcome to episode 200 of the Work Shoot Wrestling podcast. Was not expecting our 200th episode to be about the coronavirus, but this is Corey Richmond, joined as always by Jason Brook. Jason, it looks like the wrestling world is a little bit different than last week. WrestleMania, if maybe happening, maybe not be happening. When I thought we were going to start the show, I thought it'd be praising AJ's promo and saying, "Are we getting a little bit too real?" But Corona's happened, and the show's a little bit different than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's exploded in the last 24 hours. I went to a Blackhawks game yesterday. It was totally packed. Everybody was there. Then we see that the Jazz game is canceled. Rudy Gobert then has Corona. They cancel the NBA. They cancel the NHL. They cancel Major League Baseball. They cancel the NCAA tournament. Chicago has no toilet paper in the city. It's just madness. And we'll definitely talk about how this affects WrestleMania, but it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's just, like I said, it's one of those things that you expect to talk about one thing and we're talking about a whole different thing. But like you just said, it's the whole entire wrestling world has been put at a standstill. The whole entire world is basically on a standstill. It went from a couple of people, in China to the whole entire world basically at a standstill. Right now, I'm going to just put you on the spot. I think we agree on this. WWE, they have to go and just safety right now. Say right now, WrestleMania is canceled, right? I mean, you keep on.
Yeah, absolutely. If WrestleMania was in May, I think, it seems like a lot of people are kind of trying to hold out for the next 30 days. But I think WrestleMania being it's in April. Most of these places, these major league organizations, all these things are like, for the next 30 days, we need to contain stuff. So now they're going to have some big ass event with 80,000 people. I mean, this isn't even like a house show. I mean, there's 80,000 people. It's going to be Corona all over the place. So I really think canceling this is the best move. And I mean, they can move it. They can move it to the next month or another time. I don't see why they couldn't. So I really think it's in everyone's best interest to try to move this. But Vince is going to do what Vince wants to do. But I think what's going to happen is the public officials are going to say, we can't do it. But on the other hand, the public officials also know how much money this brings in for Tampa. I think WrestleMania is a really, really big money generator for some of these cities. So it's a tough thing that they want WrestleMania and they want to bring the money in, but it's just a bad look when everybody else is canceling everything to keep this going.
I mean, and also the fact, and we're not going to get super political on this show, but in the United States, President Trump yesterday went and put the travel ban for the next 30 days, and people, and half of your crowd usually is an international crowd.
Yeah, that's a good
point.
Aren't
going to be able to make the show. Yes, in London and I believe Scotland, they are going to be able to come in, but there are people from all around the world who come in. Ticket sales, they haven't sold out WrestleMania by any stretch, so it's not like the fact that it's going to be a sold-out show to begin with. I like I said, who knows how good or bad this situation will be in a month. So, if the weather gets hotter, maybe this won't be as bad, and maybe things are technology.
I mean, it's only 3 weeks. I mean, this isn't even a month. It's 3 weeks from now.
So, like I said, who knows? This could get worse. It could get better. But I mean, you got to on the idea of safety, and I just think that right now you got to have a definitive answer. And I understand you're just chasing the buck and you're saying let the things go down the road. Tampa's not making this any easier by saying, "Well, just give it another week and maybe things will get better, and we'll let the WWE know then." But it's almost like, all right, we'll get more advertising dollars and we'll let people say, let's let the WWE and people go out there and spend more money and say WWE is coming to Tampa, and let's get more people to spend more money and get more money to come in, and then last minute we'll say we're canceling it.
Well, they're not going to get any money until the people actually show up. So that's the one. I mean, they're not going to get any money until people actually go in there and spend money and get hotels, and because they could still cancel stuff. But I think a point that you made that was a really excellent point was the European travel. There's so many fans who come in from all over the world for this, and the fact that travel is banned throughout Europe to the United States, only in a couple of countries for the next 30 days, I think it's really going to limit the WrestleMania crowd. I really do. And even just traveling in the States, there's a lot of confusion as to, flying or not flying and where, so there's a lot of confusion even within the States. So I don't see a lot of people flying, over the next 30 days out of the country, in the country. It doesn't matter. So, I really don't. I think from even an economic standpoint, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think the one thing that you could say that's a bummer for people, they've planned for this all year. This is their big vacation. I mean, Corey, we met people when we went to the MSG show a couple of years ago, WrestleMania weekend, where people were like, we've been planning this all year. We've been saving for this all year for this one weekend. So it is a bummer in that case. It's a huge bummer for all this stuff, obviously. But for the greater good, I really think they have to cancel it.
I agree. I mean, and you're seeing with this is going to, well, maybe kill isn't the right word for what's going on, but a lot of companies are live and die on WrestleMania weekend, and for the performers' sakes and the company's sakes, you want to know what's going on. Are these performers? Are they going to be? What's going to happen here? I mean, you see, just like on this weekend, you had John Moxley and Pac were supposed to be in Scrappermania, a show in Scotland, which got canceled, which was a smart move. And when think about it, on WrestleMania weekend, like ROH just had to cancel their anniversary show this past week. Like you said, the NBA is
everything's canceled.
Done.
Everything's canceled. Nothing's going. I mean, I don't know one event that is actually taking place with more than 1,000 human beings anywhere in the country. I mean, I don't even think that's happening.
I mean, the only thing that's happening that's still happening is in Brazil. UFC is doing a show, which apparently is going to be there won't be anybody in the audience, but they'll be doing a show.
Yeah, well, there's actually been, I don't even know if there's been any cases in South America. That's been one of the only continents that's really been unaffected. I
mean, you being a huge soccer fan, I don't know how much I think they're still doing soccer.
Oh no, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. They've canceled the Spanish league for 2 weeks. The Italian league, obviously, with 13,000 cases, that's been canceled. One of the biggest competitions called the Champions League, they're talking about canceling that. A manager in the English Premier League just tested positive for the coronavirus. So the English Premier League so basically every major league, every big soccer league in the world is not playing except for Germany, because I don't think there's any cases in Germany. But yeah, everywhere else is not playing. So yeah, it's crazy.
It's absolutely insane. Like I said, and it doesn't matter what you personally believe. If you think coronavirus is a hoax, it's a way to get.
Well, it's absolutely not a hoax. I mean, it's absolutely not a hoax. People are dying from it.
I don't know. What I'm saying is, depending on how you believe how big of an issue the coronavirus is, if it's just another case of the flu or how big of a thing it is in the long run, it's a major issue, and the smartest idea is to cancel these events until we know more and until a cure comes out, until we have a true idea of what can be done to make things better. The best idea is to deal in caution and to cancel these events. I mean, it's terrible for the people, for the fans and everyone else who bought tickets to these events, who are either going to have to go and miss these events, or in case we found out early today, AEW, for the 2 shows that are in the New York tri-state area, they've told are going to be relocated to Florida and will be redone in July. So that's great. AEW told people that hopefully, we're still here in July, I think, all things considered. But, it's smart. Like I said, AEW's going to go and redo these shows and we move on. But like I said, main thing.
Corey, let me ask you this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, say they cancel WrestleMania, which I think the smart money is on. What do they do with WrestleMania? Do they have it in May? What do you think? What would you do? Other than obviously canceling it, do they have WrestleMania? Does it replace SummerSlam? Does it, I mean, where does it fall? Because Money in the Bank is probably the next biggest show after WrestleMania. I have no idea when that show is. I forget, May or June or something. Somewhere around there. So that's because then they have that one throwaway pay-per-view. Then they have Money in the Bank usually. Then SummerSlam sometime after that. I mean, I don't know how you wedge WrestleMania in there. It does mess up the WWE calendar for sure. But I do wonder what they do in terms of how they're going to plan it all out.
Could you do basically every week on a Raw? You do one super match a week, basically, or 1 or 2 super matches.
Oh God, that would slow down. That would slow down the storylines. You really have to have one big event.
Well, I guess maybe you have a Super Raw and a Super SmackDown where it's a huge event. Well, that's also where these shows are. All these shows going to be done at the Performance Center every week. At some point, are we going to have Raw and SmackDown every week? Is every show going to be at the Performance? We'll get more into this in a few minutes, but this week's SmackDown is going to be at the Performance Center. Do we at this point we don't know is on Monday, is it going to be at the Performance Center? We don't know that yet. This is all up in the air.
Yesterday, March 11th of 2020 was the last day of any real event with a large group of people that's going to happen in this country for at least the next 30 days. It's unbelievable. And yeah, I guess you do the Performance Center. But you got WrestleMania in the Performance Center. Oh boy! I guess they could do it. But it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. And what are they gonna do with the money they promised these guys? Taker gets what, $1 million, couple $1 million for WrestleMania every year. Is he gonna get that payout? Because they're not gonna get that money for it. They're not gonna get the gate sales and the ticket sales and things like that. So. Does he get that money? Is part of it based off of the gate? Right. So there's so many things up in the air here. It's nuts.
Hey, one thing I will say, and Dave Meltzer reported this. I don't know if Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, I don't know if he put this on Twitter or if it was just something that Dave Meltzer reported. He went and told the AEW crew that anyone who does not feel comfortable being on the road and appearing on the shows during this crisis of the corona, not being on the shows and wants to stay home, they will not lose their spot. They will not be penalized. Of course, that's great to say now, and what actually happens to the wrestling business, the cutthroat business, but they will not be penalized and they won't lose their spot.
No, he's a businessman. We're talking about wrestling from the 80s where they were, scumbags. I don't think Tony Khan is like that. He's also a quadrillionaire. Anyway.
I hope Vince McMahon, is the same way where, you've had.
Oh, yeah, probably not. Oh, probably not.
Stu Bennett, Wade Barrett, went through a table, had a concussion, got hurt. He came back and his push was forgotten about for 2 years. So
no. I think we're talking about two kind of completely different people, but yes, I think AEW, we've already seen from everything that they've talked about, they've really held up to their word in terms of taking care of people, and so I don't see that being an issue for them, and it's a great thing that they're doing too.
Right. Anything else on the coronavirus, or do you want to move on to a little bit lighter note?
Yeah, let's talk about something other than the coronavirus. Jesus, that's all I've been talking about for the past 24 hours. So please, I was dreaming about it last night. It's crazy. It's yeah. I'm driving my wife crazy. She's over there. She was yelling at me. She's like, "Stop talking about the coronavirus. I don't want to hear about it again."
There we go. So this is an interesting one. Former NFL player Gronk is apparently signed with the WWE.
What the hell is he gonna do there?
Well, that's very interesting. Now, I'll take this from a couple of angles. Is this a Ronda Rousey type of signing, or is this a Cain Velasquez kind of? Yes, Cain's been there for 10 minutes, and now he's
neither. Cain Velasquez was a accomplished MMA fighter. Ronda Rousey, an accomplished MMA fighter. Gronk played football. At least these guys, and they're all three great athletes for sure. Gronk's a Hall of Fame tight end. But the other two were accomplished in doing some physical combat. And Gronk's played pro football. I don't think he falls into the category of either one of them.
Well, let me rephrase this then. What do you think he's going to be in regards to? Do you think he's going to be a big star? I mean, do you think, like I said,
He's already a big star. What do you mean?
No, within wrestling, Roman Reigns. Yes, Roman Reigns came from a wrestling field. Roman Reigns came from football. You had guys like Kevin Nash came from basketball. You've had a lot of guys came from the sports end who came over to athletic. Ernie Ladd.
Yeah, but the difference is those guys took time to develop and improve their craft. I mean, if he goes to the performance center and grinds and spends a lot of time there and gets better, sure. I mean, Kurt Angle very famously really took to wrestling very, very quickly. Now, again, he was a Olympic Hall of Fame amateur wrestler. Ronda Rousey, same thing. Ronda Rousey really took to wrestling very quickly. I mean, she had some really good matches for someone who really had very little experience.
Right.
So maybe Gronk can do that, but he's going to have to train for quite a while to figure this out. I mean, I don't see it. I think, you maybe – and again, WWE generally is smart with how they do things with these celebrities. They care much more about the celebrities than they do their actual talent that's there every day.
Sure.
So I think they'll protect him and make him look good. They won't put him in a position to fail, I don't think. I don't see him tagging with Mojo Rawley, I don't think, anytime soon. But I think they'll put him in a position to succeed. I mean, I don't know. He's a great athlete. He's in good shape still. So, I mean, if he can make it, he's a good enough athlete to make it. I just think it'll be like, what would he be? Hey, I'm Gronk and I want to beat somebody up. I mean, I just don't know what his thing would be if anyone would take him seriously. So I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I think it's interesting the fact that he could be a decent promo. I think the thing that you guys scare you. I mean, from what remember, the guy had plenty of concussions when he was in the NFL. I mean, he retired pretty young. I think he's under 30.
I think he's 30. I think he's 30 now or 31. But the thing is, Corey, I don't think he's not gonna be on the road doing house shows. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna be doing some Raws or SmackDowns. Hopefully SmackDown, because I don't watch that. So he'll be doing some Raws or some SmackDowns and doing some pay-per-views. So I don't know that his body would even get to the point where it would even get beat up like that. So if he was on the road and grinding the whole time, I think that would be an issue. But I don't see that happening with him.
Do you think do you like the idea that maybe they did, but do you like the idea that AEW doesn't go after guys like Gronk or the celebrity types, or do you think that maybe AEW did and that just Vince offered more money? I guess my idea is, do you think that WWE going after these big name celebrities is something that AEW should be doing, or is good that they're not? I mean,
I don't see. It's a hard thing, right? I don't know, because because we could say, oh, they're not going to try to get the old guy, but the old guy was champion for 6 months or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now Jericho's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, whereas WWE brought back Goldberg, who is not great, but he's a big name. Yeah. I think AEW will get names eventually, and I think they'll do things for celebrity and and stuff like that. I think eventually they will, but I think they're at the point where they're kind of trying to establish the guys that they have there now. They're trying to establish their talent and make their talent feel big and look big. And by bringing in extra celebrities, I think that could really hurt them. Whereas the WWE doesn't give a shit about that at all. And their business model has worked for many, many years. So I don't think it's something that AEW needs to do. If I had to guess, I'd say it's something that they're not too intense about, because they really want the Elite to be stars. They want Cody and Kenny and the Bucks and Jericho and Moxley to be stars. And if you start bringing in celebrities, it's like, kind of, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm. And I guess last thing on this quickly before we move on, I know you don't love the term, but does a guy like Gronk move that proverbial needle? Does Gronk go and bring the NFL fan who does not really care about wrestling? Is he going to go and at SummerSlam when they're in, I believe, Boston this year? Is the NFL fan going to go and buy the network for $9.99 and check it out, or are they going to be like, Gronk's doing, who cares, and I'm not going to watch? Basically,
I think they'll read up on it. I think if it's on free TV, they would watch it. If they're turning the channels, I think they would maybe read about it because now there's a lot of sports coverages on CBS Sports, SI. So they'll see pro wrestling happened and Gronk wrestled or whatever. But I think it'll be a curiosity. But do I think it'll be something where they're running to go see Gronk? No, I don't see that. Right. But he will bring eyeballs to the TV screen. That I'm definitely saying he will bring eyeballs to the TV screen. I just don't know in how big of a capacity.
All right, let's talk a little the big return to Monday Night Raw after being gone for a couple of weeks. The guy who I think the most interesting angle when we thought there would be a WrestleMania, Edge is back. He went and used the RKO on Randy Orton and killed MVP, and then killed MVP again, and then killed MVP again. I don't know if MVP's alive to have his stable with Ricochet and Cedric and all the other underutilized African-American athletes who most likely will never get a push in the WWE. My opinion, not the shows, but maybe you agree. But what'd you think of the return of Edge? I thought it was done pretty well.
Yeah, I think it was done pretty well. I think it was. I think it was flatter than some of the other segments they've done over the last couple of weeks. I don't think it was as intense as I was hoping for, but it was definitely a well done segment. I think when you look at the things that they've done, the thing with Beth, the thing with Matt Hardy, the original thing with Edge, I don't feel like it had that same level of oomph, that same level. But that being said, like if the original Edge Orton segment was a 9 or a 10, which I think it was, I'd say this was more like a 6 or a 7, which still is really, really good. Just your expectations are so high after some of their segments in the past.
Do you think that this? Do you think that this segment should have been saved for like a go home segment, or or do you think that there's still more you feel like they can do?
I think there's more that they can do. I think there's more they could do. They still have to do the really face to face and actually talk to each other. They can do some gimmick where you can't touch the guy until Mania, and then they have to actually talk things out. And I think that can bring some kind of level of it, more of a level of intensity. So yeah, I think there's definitely more to go with this feud.
Like I said, I enjoyed the segment. I think maybe enjoyed it a little bit more than you. I thought bringing the idea of Edge having the finisher with the submission, I thought was interesting, and I like the idea of him being able to hit the RKO, bringing the idea if he could hit his Randy's finisher against him. I thought was a nice little touch.
I didn't see the need for MVP. It was weird that he was there. I was like, why is he there? And I'm like, this is a setup for him to just get his ass kicked. But I don't know. I didn't think it was necessary for him to be there. But
yeah, well, MVP is there to be the guy that everybody just beats up on right now, which I'm hoping leads to him having a stable and bringing in, like I said, maybe a Ricochet, a Cedric, maybe a Lashley.
This is the fantasy booking portion of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, yeah, Nation 2.0. just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping.
I mean, that'd be a dope stable. You got MVP who can talk. You have Lashley, who I could whatever. I could take or leave, and then you have the Ricochet and Alexander, who I think would be fantastic and something like that.
Yeah, man, just bring maybe bring Shelton in and.
Shelton's fine. Shelton's fine. He's he's older. He's kind of just riding out the string. He's okay. No, not that he's not riding out the string like he's not trying, but I think you have a stable like that for kind of younger guys.
All right, I can respect that. But let's talk about the other big moment from Raw, the one that I think we both liked, but I think also brings up a weird direction, which will bring up I think a little bit bigger conversation. AJ Styles, one of the better promos of his career. I mean, I think most of
You,
his,
you think so?
I don't know how many great promos AJ's had in his career, but I mean,
I think he's had much better promos than that. I felt like he was reading lines off a teleprompter. I
well,
didn't.
I think everyone in that company reads lines of a telephone.
I know, but I feel like when AJ really started to come into his own as a babyface, I really thought his promos were getting like a lot stronger. Yeah, I'll let you continue, but I didn't agree there. I didn't think the promo was anything to write home about.
I don't think it was great, but I mean, the high point of him was him versus Cena. I think was the high point of his promos a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
but I do think there was a lot of pressure on him with doing the challenge versus the Undertaker. But I think that promo with going and saying how he should have reached, everyone really thought that he retired when he lost to Roman Reigns, putting down the all of his gear, and that felt like the retirement. And now he's still wrestling basically 10 years later. That was the moment, and now he's just basically there and telling his real name, and he's married to Michelle McCool. It basically feels like, at least to me, that Vince and the creative team were watching, the Real Housewives and all of these angles right now with Beth Phoenix, and now with this is everyone is, we're talking about everyone's wives. And I know that this is the Heyman idea of booking, where everything is super, real with, real life stuff. But I don't know, for me personally, maybe one of these angles, per idea, but I almost feel like it's too much. I don't really. The myth of the Undertaker was the idea he was the last guy who was a gimmick. And I understand the Undertaker's 425 years old. And I understand, Kane is now the mayor of, Memphis, Tennessee, or Cobb County or whatever. And he, now he no longer wears the mask, but Undertaker's the Undertaker. I don't need to know that he's Mark Calloway.
Yeah. So, okay, couple of things. One, I think I agree with you in terms of the wife stuff. So, like AJ and Samoa Joe had that kind of thing a while ago. Right. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought Joe was absolutely spectacular.
Oh, yeah. Joe carried that thing.
Yeah, I thought he was awesome. I've really enjoyed the Beth Phoenix thing, and part of the thing with Beth Phoenix is that she's a Hall of Fame women's wrestler. So it's not like she's real. It felt very real. She's still an announcer in NXT. She's still really involved in the product. The Michelle McCool thing is like, she hasn't been in our minds in years. She hasn't been on a Royal Rumble, I think, in like these women's Royal Rumbles. Has she been in any of them? I don't even know. The first one, okay. So that she hasn't been involved in the WWE product in years. Why is he bringing her up? Like it didn't make any sense. To me, you're not getting any heat that way. He brings up her name and says you're still wrestling because of Michelle McCool. Like what does she have to do with it? We haven't seen her in 3 years. Many of the audience probably may not even know who she is or really ever saw her perform. So to me, it didn't make any sense. We know who Beth Phoenix is. We've seen her a lot. She's familiar to the audience, but they haven't built up Michelle McCool. And okay, so he's wrestling for her. Why is he wrestling for her? Because she wants him to wrestle for her? How do we know that? Because he's saying it? The promo logically just didn't make sense. I feel like sometimes with WrestleMania, with wrestling feuds in general, they're like, we've got to figure out how to, connect these dots. And I think they really rushed it. So, it's funny, as great as the Edge and Orton thing is to me as kind of wonky and nonsensical is this AJ Undertaker thing. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't hold a lot of water for me.
Well, I think the idea was he was trying to do, maybe he didn't do a good enough job for you, but the idea that he's this broken down wrestler, that his gold digger wife is the only reason why he's still wrestling is because she needs, for her lifestyle, he needs to keep on wrestling because of her. And then, are we supposed to now think that next week AJ, who's the family guy, is now going to bring out Layla out next week, and we're going to have Lay Cool's going to one's going to be in his corner. Much as I love to see her, out there, because she was
she's
10 years ago.
And I think she still probably looks fine. I think she's probably held herself up well. But that's fine, Corey. But what evidence do we have of that? Hey, I know your wife, and she's a gold digger. Okay, great. The crowd's gonna boo. It doesn't make any sense why he would say this. If I get that he's coming back for the money. Everybody and their grandmother knows he's coming back for the money, and we get all that. But to make it about his wife, like, come on, it just doesn't make sense to me. And if you want to say that, how's that getting heat for him? Like, how's that getting heat for him? Because then, like, maybe people are like, oh, his wife might be a gold digger. It just doesn't hold water for me at all.
And like what? The idea this is Michelle McCool stole the Styles Clash? Is that what's going to be the big finishing idea on this? I mean, who cares? Honestly.
Yeah. I don't get the whole Beth Phoenix thing. I could see it, but Michelle McCool. So I guess Michelle McCool's going to be involved in this now.
Yeah.
And is she going to get beat up like Beth Phoenix did by a man? We're going to have a bunch of this now. I don't know. I thought the feud was kind of a weak idea from the beginning. I don't I know why the Undertaker comes back every year. I know people love him coming back every year. I think we really should stop this. I think the storylines he's done with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, I think were great. The Reigns thing, fine. It wasn't a good match, but whatever. Now I just think it's time. I think bringing him back every year just doesn't make a lot of sense, unless you have a really good storyline for it, which they don't, and they really have been struggling with storylines for him, for the last couple of years.
Hey, it'll be one heck of an entrance at the Performance Center. What can you say?
We know his entrance is only going to be like 2 minutes because he's a very short aisle.
Exactly, but but like I said, these storylines with wives and everything, you got it with Lashley and Lana. You have it with that. You had with the Bennett and Maria.
Maria and Mike and
Mike and Maria. I mean, it's a Heyman staple. I mean, it's great that Heyman has the book in WWE when it comes to Raw. But I mean, as good of a mind as Heyman is, and I think Raw has been better since the Rumble and even before that.
I think it's been a lot better.
But you know what? I just think that this trope has been done to death a little bit too much.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And as we talk about, everybody runs to what they know, to what they're good at. That's just kind of the way everyone works. From a professional standpoint, people run to what they're good at. I know that I do. In my job, I run to what I'm good at. And I think that's what people do. So I think that's what Heyman's doing. Sometimes it works great, Edge and Orton. Sometimes, it falls a little flat, which I think this might be. Now, again, they have time to pick it up. But the issue with The Undertaker is that he is never going to be able to carry the feud, especially on the mic. So you're going to need someone to really carry that load. That's why the Reigns Undertaker feud was kind of flat, because neither one of them was going to carry the feud on the mic. That's why this Goldberg Reigns thing, I don't understand at all. So it'll be interesting. Maybe they could do something to change things up. Maybe they could spice it up a little bit, add some elements to it to make it something that the fans will anticipate. But they could have me against the Undertaker and with no storyline, and people are going to be into it. So at this point, it doesn't really matter. He's so over that, it's not really a big deal either way.
Yeah, I can see that. Let's get a little bit into everyone's favorite night of the week, the one before ours. The Wednesday night wars. You've got AEW versus NXT. I didn't think either show was great last night. What was your thoughts? Did either show really stand out? I mean,
no. I thought but the one thing about AEW is it's just fun show to watch. It's definitely a more fun show to watch. Although I still love NXT. I think AEW is really kind of coming into its own. Even with their women's segments are better, and they're making more sense. I enjoyed the Britt Baker Big Swole segment. The ending segment with the Inner Circle kind of getting their heat back, I thought was solid, and kind of that thing with the Elite where they're still having issues, I thought was really good. So yeah, I think AEW was better yesterday, but I think both shows. I mean, they did have that wild brawl with Ciampa and Gargano, but I still thought AEW was a better show by a little bit, not by a lot. But I thought neither show was like a blowaway show.
And we kind of saw that in the ratings. Both shows were down. I don't know how much of that was because people might have been watching coverage of the coronavirus.
I think that's exactly what it was. Especially if we're right, and it's they say the NXT audience skews a little older. People are worried about that stuff. So especially when stuff broke, because stuff really broke around that time. I was at the Blackhawks game at 7:00. They canceled the Jazz game, I think, around 7:30, 8:00.
I believe so. Yeah.
Then they announced an hour later they were canceling the NBA season, and then announced that Rudy Gobert had corona. So and I think everything kind of just went crazy. So I could easily see at that time people being worried and wanting to watch the news for updates and things like that, and maybe not watching either show as much.
And I wouldn't be surprised if wrestling ratings. You know what? Actually, it's an interesting thing. What do you think? And I know ratings are a very fickle thing because it's
very fickle,
very skewed system of it's Nielsen ratings. Who knows who actually has boxed and all this other stuff. But with the coronavirus and everything else, do you think wrestling ratings are going to go up because people will be indoors and and that's going to be right now with no sports and everything on? Do you think that wrestling ratings might actually go up as a result of because it might be the only?
I mean, Corey, the only live thing might be pro wrestling that we see. Yeah. The only actual thing that's live that we see right at the time that it is pro wrestling. So I would predict that ratings would go up. I think ratings are going to go up. I don't see why they wouldn't. People are in their homes. They got a million rolls of toilet paper. They got the meat in the freezer that they're in their bunker. I don't know. I think people are gonna really stay in and watch a lot of TV.
Netflix show will be quite a
yeah. So that's what I think. I think ratings would go up if I had to guess for sure.
That will be very interesting to see,
especially because it's the only live thing. Like, how amazing is that? All these live sports, all these live events, and now pro wrestling will be the only live thing that'll be on every week. It's pretty unbelievable, at least for the next few weeks.
Yeah, but going back to the Wednesday Night Wars, I thought that segment between Big Swole and Brett Baker was one of the better segments of the night. I really do think if you put Baker and Rhea Ripley together as one wrestler, I think that they would be almost a perfect package. Rhea Ripley can't speak, and Britt Baker can't wrestle.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Can Baker wrestle?
I think she's okay.
Really?
I think she's solid.
Solid?
I think she's solid.
Solid wrestler?
She's a solid wrestler. I like her finisher. And she's had some matches that are passable.
And what from when did you see a solid wrestling match of her?
I feel like her first couple of matches were okay. She's okay. She's not bad. She's not bad.
The conversations we had before we started doing the podcast.
No, you hated her more than I did. You complained about her more than I did. I didn't complain about her. You have a lot of disdain for Britt Baker's in-ring ability. I always said, she's fine.
Sure. Okay. But we'll go with that. All right.
Yeah, I mean that's what I said. If I think someone really is not good in the ring, I will say we both agreed Awesome Kong's days have gone, have passed her by. But I think Britt Baker has potential and has ability for sure.
Okay. But I am interested to see how this all turns out. Big Swole. It's good to see they actually having a secondary feud with the women.
I love it, and I think Swole's the perfect person to do it. I think the fans are getting into her. I think she's fun. I think she's a great athlete. I think she's pretty good in the ring, and I think they could have a pretty passable. I think they could have a solid match. I really do.
Well, let's hope so. And can we be honest? Cedric Alexander was more over on AEW in 30 seconds than he's been in on Raw in the last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only time Cedric Alexander was over in Raw was when he was the fake janitor with Roman Reigns when he was a tag partner. People went crazy. I'm like, oh, maybe we'll give Cedric Alexander a push, and they did give him a little push, and then
he faced AJ Styles.
Then he faced AJ Styles, and see ya, he gone.
He gone. That man really needs to get out of that company, but that's for another time. But I agree with you. I thought the end segment on both shows were good. One thing I do want to get your opinion on, and I do think this is interesting. What did you think of the Performance Center as a venue for a live wrestling show? I thought it was interesting for one episode. I think that I know you don't, as you say many times, you don't watch SmackDown.
Nope.
But maybe you'll watch it this week because there'll be nothing on TV, or maybe you'll make your DVR. But
I will probably be at the bar, even though there's Corona.
There you go. But what was your thoughts on the Performance Center as a venue?
I liked it. I think as a kind of a one-off, it's interesting and fun. I think the issue is going to come down to you got to do it there every week or whatever. But I mean, also like maybe it won't be that big of a deal. You do it for a month. You have the shows there, and maybe it's not a big deal, and maybe it actually makes it even more fun because the audience is smaller. And now, what they do with the audience, I don't know. Like, are they gonna have fans actually there? Are they gonna who's it gonna be that's there? I think that'll be the interesting thing. I think if it's for 30 days and they have like 400 fans there that they've taking their temperature and made sure that they're good or whatever they got to do. I mean, that's what they're doing in nursing homes. So whatever, but I don't know. So if they do it for 30 days, it's fine. And if there's fans there, a couple hundred, I think it actually could be okay. I think they can make it, make it feel decent. Again, you talk about WrestleMania and having that big fight feel, that big event feel. I think that's where things kind of fall through the cracks. Because is WrestleMania a better wrestling show than SummerSlam? No. I don't think it's been for years. But it's a really, really big show. It's an event. It's the Super Bowl, and that is a lot because of the glitz and glamour of WrestleMania, more so than the fantastic matches. So, we'll kind of see what happens there. But I think for a month, they'll be okay.
One last thing on NXT from last night. Maybe you'll disagree on this, but it was nice to see Rhea Ripley, open her mouth and actually say something on the mic.
She spoke for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, well, exactly. Rhea Ripley has to cut a promo on Raw. It's great to see her, show the aggressive style and punch, Charlotte Flair in the mouth on Raw. But more people by the boatload watch Raw than NXT every week. And the fans on Raw, all they know about her is the fact that she comes out to some rock music. We saw her package for a moment, and the fact that, like I said, she punched Charlotte.
I think the package was really good. I think the package was really, really good and established her a little bit. I think the way they have to go with her is packages. I think she is pretty bad on the mic, terrible on the mic, and you could just tell she struggles. I think that to do backstage pre-tapes, to do vignettes, I think that's the way to go with her. I think that's the way they have to continue to go with her because Charlotte is one of the best talkers probably in pro wrestling. And, it'll always be hard for her to match up with that. So I think that's really the way that they should go. I thought Jason Powell said something really, really interesting in his review of the show in that Charlotte Flair kind of healed out on the fans. Now the fans kind of were doing that, they were really, getting on her. So she healed out on them. But I think that's kind of what they need to do with Charlotte. Make her more of a heel. Make her more of an asshole. Like that's what they need to do with her. I think a little more. But I think the story's been interesting. I don't think it's been bad. But I do think they can amp it up a little bit here as we get toward maybe WrestleMania. I mean, it's funny. We're talking about all these storylines for a show that probably won't happen. It's just crazy.
True. Jason Powell from ProWrestling.net, who's been on the podcast more than once. And also, that's funny for once again, like you said, for a show that may not happen. Exactly. We're trying to think of the positive, absolutely, on that. And it's weird. AEW, another solid show, but this NXT, just more things feel like you remember right now. It's just like, I don't know. It's weird. I kind of enjoyed AEW. I feel like I enjoyed it more, but more things feel like they kind of stood out. Like I said, the stuff with Dream and Adam Cole, I feel like I remembered that more. But moving on.
And they're going to have to do something to pick that feud up. They're going to have to really amp that feud up over the next couple of weeks. So I'm very interested to see what they do with that storyline. Because it's true, to a certain extent, right? Dream doesn't deserve a shot at the title. He hasn't done anything to deserve a shot at the title. So how do they get him there? Will be interesting.
That is true. Will be interesting to see what they do in the next couple of weeks to build up all these matches that may or may not happen in Tampa. Moving on, last thing of the day, last pay-per-view before WrestleMania, the show that may or may not happen was Elimination Chamber. I think we're going to differ on some of our thoughts on this show. Just quickly, congratulations to Sami Zayn on actually wrestling in a match for, I think, the first time in a year.
And winning the title.
I thought that was actually kind of an enjoyable match.
I didn't think it was terrible. And I like how they had him win the belt, too. I think if you're going to have a heel win a belt, it's the perfect way to keep the heat on him while also not making Braun look bad. I thought it was perfect.
Now you said you did not get a chance to see the best match of the show, right? You did not.
Yeah, the Bryan match, did not see that, but I heard it was great.
It was good to see Drew Gulak get a little bit of a shine. I'm actually interested to see where they're going to go with that. If I were them, I would actually have them as a tag team. I think they could be good together. Maybe you have them face each other again, and then a mutual respect thing I think could be interesting, especially the fact that that tag team division is deep, but I don't know I don't feel anybody in that tag team division besides Heavy Machinery is truly over. I know you don't watch SmackDown, but
nope.
I do think that could be interesting. But what was your thoughts, though, on the two cage matches? Elimination changes. Let's go with the tag team one first.
Yeah.
If you happen to see that, what was your thought of the?
Yeah. The only match I missed was the first one. The tag match was fun. It was a fun match. I thought the outcome was kind of what we were going to get. I didn't think we were going to get any surprises on the show as it was. Yeah, I didn't think we were going to really get any surprises on the show. But yeah, I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought you had some high spots. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't like the best Elimination Chamber match ever, but it was a match that was fun. And yeah, it was a good match.
I really thought it was one of the lesser Elimination Chamber matches I've seen. I mean, I didn't think it was anything special. I thought they made a huge mistake. Well, not huge, but I thought they made a mistake by not putting the titles on Ziggler and Rude, and then at WrestleMania having them facing Heavy Machinery for the tag team titles, because that's one of the few things on SmackDown that people care about. They care about this Heavy Machinery Ziggler feud when it comes to Mandy Rose. That's one.
They could make that into some type of match for Mandy's affection or some gimmick without having to make it for the title. Yeah,
but I don't think many people care about the Usos or New Day or
I think people are into the Usos still.
I don't think it really. From what you see, like I said, I know you're not watching SmackDown, but it doesn't really seem like people really care about or Miz or Morrison. After the first couple of weeks of Miz and Morrison being back, it really doesn't feel like they really care. Especially,
so they're going to give them the tag team title because they have a goofy storyline with Mandy Rose. That doesn't make any sense to me.
They're over. people care about that storyline. I think.
Yeah, they care about the storyline. Do they care about them?
Yeah, I think people do care about Heavy Machinery. I think.
Do they care about Ziggler and Rude? Before I stopped watching SmackDown as regularly as I do now, which we've talked about on the show like 10 times now. I remember watching Ziggler and Rude. They weren't getting a lot of heat from the audience. Audience didn't really give a shit about them. They don't. The problem is they don't really care about any of the tag teams. I mean, the New Day has always been a fan favorite. And I think the Usos, people like the Usos, and maybe since they've come back, there's been changes. You could tell me about that, but Heavy Machinery people seem to like. But I don't know. Give them the titles because of a Mandy Rose feud. That doesn't make sense.
I think it would have been a good moment at WrestleMania if it does happen for Otis and Tucker to win the title. Because, like I said, people.
And then Mandy Rose come down and kiss them. I don't. I'm good.
All right, whatever. But like I said, I thought that match was fine. I didn't think it was great by any stretch. But like I said, let's get into the other match where we're going to disagree quite a bit. You did not apparently like.
It was awful. It was awful. You know who else didn't like it? The fucking audience. They thought they were booing. They were saying boring. Shayna Baszler was in the ring by herself for 2 minutes, just yelling. Why would I want to watch that? I don't want to see her just in the ring by herself yelling. What is that? That doesn't put her over or make her look stronger. The crowd was booing her. That doesn't make her look stronger at all. I thought it was booked terribly. I thought it was a terrible. I thought it was a terrible, terrible, terrible match, and it was booked horribly.
All right, we're going to disagree.
They made the women look like complete ham and eggers. Complete ham and eggers.
All right, I'm going to take the opposite view on this one.
What did you like about it? Right. What could you have liked about it?
All right, let's get into this. I thought that they made Shayna Baszler look like a badass, a killer. I thought
she beat a bunch of ham and eggers. They've made Liv Morgan. Has she won a match? Who's Sarah Logan? Who has she beat? Ruby Riott just came back. Who did she beat in the match? Who did she beat in the match that was a big deal other than Asuka, who we knew was going to lose because Asuka's gotten chances. So why not just have a one-on-one match with her and Asuka? Why does she have to beat all these chumps? They made her look like a badass because she beat up a bunch of jobbers who don't win any matches on Raw anyway?
Well, the way that she did, she basically killed everyone in that match.
It was a squash match, and they're enhancement talent basically. They don't do anything with them.
All right, I'm going to try this again. I feel the only mistake I feel they made was that they waited too long in between the eliminations of Liv Morgan and having Asuka come into the match. The time in between that, when you could see basically they fiddled around in the tag team match of the 5 minutes or 3 minutes in between. There was no consistency on that. There was 6 minutes, 3 minutes. They decided they didn't care how long it was in between there. But I felt the fact that, especially I thought that was really well done with Asuka screaming and from her chamber where she was trying to get into the match. I thought that was really done well. And the idea of the story that it's been basically a year and a half that the only person that Becky Lynch wasn't able to beat was Asuka, and Shayna Baszler basically destroyed Asuka. And it made
Asuka in the match. Why not just have a match with her and Asuka for the number one contender? Why have these other women in the match? They're not going to win. Liv Morgan is not beating anybody. Sarah Logan hasn't beat anyone since she's been on the main roster. And she didn't even beat anyone in NXT. I don't think she's ever won a match. Why not just have her and Asuka in a one-on-one match? Why have this charade?
Because this is the time of year that you do Elimination Chamber.
It's great. Dude, that's a great logic.
Well,
that's such shit. That's such shit logic. That's shit logic.
That's fine. I don't disagree with you on that point, but I think, like I said, I think it made Shayna Baszler look like a.
But Corey, the crowd was booing. They weren't booing out of excitement. They were booing out of boredom. It was so predictable what was going to happen. Why have that be the main event? Oh, it was awful.
Well, part of the problem is there were no stars on that show. Becky Lynch wasn't wrestling on that show. Kevin Owens didn't wrestle on that show. You had no John Cena. You had no Roman Reigns.
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with the crowd booing and then being quiet when she won? The crowd didn't react. They reacted. They were booing because it was taking so long to have another wrestler come in, and then they didn't react when they won because they didn't really give a shit. And that's part of the reason why Vince is not excited about this match in general. And I disagree with Vince most of the time, but I think he's not totally off here. I don't think the crowd's reacting to Shayna Baszler as Heyman thought that they would react to her. They're not reacting. They're not giving her a big reaction. They really aren't. And I think Baszler's style is slow. I always thought she would maybe struggle in the transition to the main roster because of just her style and how she works. And she works kind of the same style in all of her matches. But I mean, you loved it. You're probably the only person.
Like I said, I mean, I've liked the majority of her matches in NXT. So, I mean, I like her style. I mean, it's a different opinion. Like, that's why I think this show works. We're not going to always agree on everything. So, I mean.
But Corey, how did you think that was good? Did it establish her as a badass? Sure. Sure. But Corey, we watch NXT now. She was on the main event of the Survivor Series. We all know she's a badass. Why does she need to beat 6 jobbers to do that? We already know what she does. If you watch Raw and SmackDown, you've watched NXT. You watch the Survivor Series. You know what she's capable of. Why did she need to beat these women in a match where she barely did anything and we got almost no action? Or, hey, I have an idea. Have her in a pod at the end. Have her in a pod, right? And you have all the women and they do some spots and you at least put them over and make them look good with the other women. Then you have her come out and then she beats everyone in 2 seconds. Fine. I would accept that. But the way they did it was so bad. It was bad. And it was bad to watch. For an audience member, it was bad to watch. You're not watching that saying, oh yeah, it's Shayna Baszler. You're saying, what did I just watch here? This is terrible.
All right, like I said, we'll agree to disagree. I thought she looked like a dominant threat that could actually beat Becky Lynch. Before that, I didn't think
from her beating 5 jobbers and Asuka. Come on!
I don't think Natalia's a jobber, but all right, fine.
Oh, come on! When's the last time Natalia won the title? I don't think she's won a title since they've turned it into a women's title.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't want to call them jobbers. Natalia is a great pro wrestler, and Asuka, we know her. And Ruby Riot's good too. But you know what I mean. Like, none of these women, other than Asuka, have sniffed the women's world title. And so she beats them in 3 seconds. Great. What does that prove? Nothing.
All right, like I said, it worked. It worked for me. It didn't work for you. I understand.
I don't think it works for the audience. To me, that's the biggest problem. I didn't like it, but sometimes, The Undertaker. I think I'm really over The Undertaker. The fans love it. It's fine, right? I don't think the fans like the match. To me, this isn't just about what you like or what I like. This is we talk about the business of wrestling, what we think the audience likes. And they reacted terribly to it, did they not?
Sure.
So to me, that's also the thing. I did not like it, and I also don't think the audience liked it. And that was on Twitter. By the way, I'm at Work Shoot Pod. Corey live tweeted yesterday. I tweeted Monday a little bit, and I think I live tweeted Elimination Chamber as well. So yeah. So and a lot of negative reaction on Twitter to that match too.
I'm at Paladin 808. Not tweeting as much, but you know what? I think it's a good place to call it a day. Still working on getting us on more places, back on iTunes, but we are on Spotify. We did get through our 200th episode. It took a little bit longer than I expected, on the pace we used to be at, but it's good to get 200th under our belt. Here's to getting to, I guess, 300, or at least to 201.
We'll see. we'll see.
Next week, hopefully Stone Cold will do something interesting, I guess, at the Performance Center.
I'm not expecting. I think it'll be fun. I mean, he's fun, so it'll be a fun segment for sure. I don't think it'll mean anything, but it'll be fun.
Hey, NWA will return with their big show. AEW will be put on some sort of show, apparently.
Yeah, and we didn't get into this, but it does really suck the spot they were in, because they were really building toward a pretty big show here in a couple of weeks, and I think it would have been a big show and they would have got a good rating. So it just sucks that the momentum was taken from them. The whole thing sucks for everyone. People are dying. Like, there's much worse problems, but it sucks for AEW's company that they really had this momentum built for this, and it was going to be a very interesting show with the Elite and their problems and whatever, and it kind of blew up on them. So,
like I said, we will be back hopefully next week talking more about the world of professional wrestling. But Jason, the floor is yours.
I think we're done here. See you.